Hey everybody. Got an update to the whole Three Towns thing. There's a lot of questions that I wanted to answer on the questions that people had been asking about, what this is going to mean, who has to camp where everybody's going to be. First thing I want to address is that this is not something I'm taking lightly, but it is definitely something that we've got to do. The unfair thing is that DGen has to go. I've been told that it's been seen from the road too much, and it's really unfortunate that they can't build things that they want to build. And I have nowhere to put Lizard Tail. I really want them to be able to build a camp just like everybody else, and conglomerating into groups is about the only way that I can figure this out at this point, without taking too many liberties and building in too many places all over the property. We've actually got so many random buildings that we're starting to get near the possibility that we could run into legal issues with the property and how much stuff we've got building, to the point of where we could run into certain stupid issues like hoarder laws and things like that. So if we build 3 large generalized forts, I can easily pass this off as airsoft and paintball arenas, things like that, and the legality issues become much easier, and we won't run into the big issue of the worst case scenario where the state shuts us down and we just have no game. So what I'm working on is, this is a second proposal of places to build the cities. Some really important and poignant points were brought up. One, with all 3 of the cities still so close, being in the Infa camp, Raider camp, and Sanctuary, we lose a large amount of the geopolitical system where people control areas, and there would be, you have to actually travel a bit to go accomplish things. It would be a constant swarm of whichever side was dominant attacking the other 2. I mean, in cases of warfare and things like that, where if we spread them out a little bit more, we're going to get more of a feeling of, you leave your town, and if you're able to, be allied enough to go to another town, it actually feels like you're going somewhere, which I kind of like the idea of. So the new suggestion is to Sanctuary, right? And then build 2 new ones. One at what we were calling the Bend of Bad Decisions, the area right between Fuck Camp and Raider Camp currently. It would be a large open area, but in a square fort, we would be much easier there to build, lots of permanent, covered structures. And then the area of Citadel, which actually is rather large and could mirror Sanctuary in size and shape, so that essentially they would be 2 opposing, almost exactly the same fortresses, which I think could be really, really cool to have. Originally, I had been talking about lowering the number of entrances to 1, but it was brought up that IRL, that's a death trap. So we're going to be going with 2 major large entrances, both of which will be able to fit a vehicle if necessary. But yeah, another thing, people concerned that their character wouldn't fit in a city, that's fine. You can camp in the wastes. It's just we can't build forts. We can't build hundreds of forts. So if you want to go camp in the wastes by yourself, you can. That is not a big deal. If you want to go camp in the wastes as a large group, that's fine. You just can't have a gate. You can't have walls. You can't have towers anymore. And it was a good idea, but I've been advised legally that we're running into problems. So part of the reason why we're moving towards this, but I think that the things we're going to be able to build as groups is going to be much cooler than the tiny fortresses that we were looking at. Also, the idea of having cabins and things like that has been requested many times but I can't do it if we don't have centralized locations for those to go to, because I can't just build hundreds of cabins around all over the site for me to try to maintain throughout the rest of the year. They need to be in centralized locations so that I can do large-scale repairs if necessary. Let me just check for another couple of questions. People asking about whether or not two people or two groups are gonna, if they end up in the same camp, and they're gonna have huge problems about it. Everybody's gonna have a lot of decision on where they're gonna get to go. So you'll see who's going there, and don't move there if you think you're going to have issues with people there. There's going to be, like I said, generalized flavors for the towns beforehand. So probably go to the one that fits the flavor of your characters at the time. That will pull other groups who fit the flavor as well. And then you guys can evolve the town however you'd like from there. The question about whether or not we were going to do a different wasteland, that was an idea, but feedback from most of the characters that I've talked to, it could be an issue. So we were just talking about this being the Notai Wastes 5 years from now. So your characters will time travel, but not physically travel. In the idea that we're going with right now. And like I said, this is a year away, so it doesn't affect any of you right now. So we've got a lot of time to figure out how this is going to go on. And then let's see. What was it? In this, one of the ideas was that since we're going to be moving to 200 people anyway, we're going to need to expand the scope of the ops situation anyway. And people were asking me, well, how are you going to handle ops? And I'm thinking the possibility is that with the added income of more tickets and the fact that, you know, we've been making a little bit of money steadily each event to be able to afford things, we're going to focus on purchasing caps and flags for the game, so that we have a large amount of caps, flags, and XP for spreading to 3 different ops stations, one in each of the towns. The way that would work is that you would have a central ops, which is essentially the story camp, which will become out of monster camp, and they'll just do most of the heavy lifting for game operation running, but crafting and leveling and character recording can happen in each part of the town, so that you've got one ops person who's working with about 66 players in an exact split. That won't always be the case, but in that case, everything will be work that way, and we'll have radios to keep all 3 in contact. So if one group runs out of a thing, runners can be sent to everything gets gleaned to central ops, and then central ops will send care packages to the smaller ops to handle everything. Then there were questions about so to cover the ground of why we were talking about changing the wasteland, is that we were talking about, you know, if it was such a drastic change, that people would have a problem, you know, rationalizing it. But I'm pretty sure everybody's going to just be able to understand that 5 years from now the world could change drastically. So yeah, I think that's most of the big questions. So if you have any more questions, feel free to leave comments to either the post on Facebook for this video or in this video directly in YouTube, whichever one you want to do. I'll answer them all. All right. Thanks a bunch.